Sorry, I was muted. So, what's up, everybody? Um, Today, I am going to be doing, um, I'm going to be doing a live stream of making a one-button game, which kind of goes with the contest that we're having for our Hyperween event. So, if you actually go to our the Hyperpad app, if you go to the hub, and you check out the actually, why am I not showing you guys? Uh, so if you go to the HyperPad app and how do I make this bigger? How do oh, again to this button. There we go. That's bigger. And yeah, so um, let's go to the HyperPad app. You'll notice that our icon's different. We're pushing that update out today with all the new features, the bug fixes, and everything. So if you click on the HyperPad app and go to the hub, you can find details of our Hyperween game jam. So that contest officially ends on the 31st. Make sure you um, submit your projects before October 31st. Um, first first place gets an iPhone 14. Second place gets an AirPods Pro. Third place gets an iTunes gift card. And the basically the idea of it is you just make a click uh, one click game uh, with like a Halloween theme. And today I'm actually going to show you how to make a one click game. And as usual, I don't have anything planned, so I'm just gonna kind of uh, give a minute to for people to um, come up with some ideas. And if I don't get any ideas, I'm just going to go ahead and come up with something. Hopefully, I will come up with like a cookie clicker game because we all love those. Uh, People are telling me my audio is breaking up. So let me switch my audio to my AirPods. Hopefully that'll be better. Audio, make this my AirPods. Hoping audio is going to be better. Um, I'll give it like a minute for I get some text messages to tell me to fix my audio. Uh, well, I'm just gonna assume the audio is working. Uh, so yeah, the contest is make a one click game or one button game. What that means is um, your game consists of a single button that takes up your whole screen, and that's your only interaction with the game. So an example of this is if your internet ever went out and you open up Chrome, you notice there's like a little dinosaur game where you like jump up and try to avoid little obstacles. That's a one click game. So let's I'm actually gonna that's actually the game I'm gonna build. Um, I'm gonna build a game. I'm gonna build that game where you're uh, the little dinosaur and you jump avoiding obstacles, and there's gonna be one button. Um, I don't have any handy artwork, so we're just gonna go. So I'm just gonna call this dinosaur game, and usually I don't have any artwork to deal with either. So I'm just going to hit up our HyperPad asset shop, where all the assets are free right now. And um, we have Spooktober 2020. Looks like we did a Halloween contest in 2020, so I'm just going to use the same assets from that. And let's call it. Let's be a monster. Our monster's going to be the main character. Let's set up background. Um, let's go set the spooky background. And I'm also going to use my Apple Pencil as well, so that it's so you can see what I'm doing. Let me close some stuff on my computer too, because my computer is kind of lagging. Give me 1 second. Got a bunch of stuff open. Let's close all these tabs. What I should really do from now on is just have a whole separate computer handling my iPad stream or my iPad sharing, because this computer is so slow. Let's close everything. Why is Xcode open? Let's close that too. Quit Zoom. Sorry guys. Let's quit Postman. Let's quit Slack. All right, guys. So hopefully that's gonna be a little bit better. All right, so we changed our background. So all I did was I went to the background, chose the background from our Halloween event, and you'll notice at the bottom here, there's like a perfect little area for us to for our little Frankenstein character. And if I press play, you'll see like our guy's already animating. And the reason for that is because this is an animated character that our Halloween pack already had, and we drag on an animated character. It chooses one of the animations by default, and it adds an animation behavior. So you're already animating. So we're good there, and let's have our guy avoidance too. So we're just gonna generate one pumpkin here, and let's make it so that when what should we do here? So we have our monster. We'll have these pumpkins here. We're gonna have them just move to the left, and then we're gonna randomly generate new pumpkins. So that's really easy to do. We're just gonna go to the behaviors of this pumpkin here. Sorry, okay, pumpkin, and all we're gonna do is we're just gonna do a transform, and we're gonna do set velocity, physics. We're just gonna move it. There's multiple ways of moving our guy to the left, or our pumpkin to the left. You can use a transform behavior and just make use of the move by or the move to point, move to object, or whatever. But we want our pumpkins to move almost uniformly. So what that means is it will move smoothly to the left, and nothing's just going to slow it down. So what we're going to do is going to use the physics, because our pumpkin's going to be wall objects. I'll explain that in a bit. And you're just going to set the velocity of our pumpkin. We're going to just set it to -5 meters per second. And if you remember from before, when I explained this before, you have an x-axis and a y-axis. And x-axis is when things move from left to right, or from right to left, just horizontally, whereas the y-axis is when things move up and down or vertically, right? So -5 means move left, because if you imagine our axis starts at 0, we're going to move things left 5 meters per second, and positive numbers when you're dealing with x is moving to the right. So I think my screen's backwards, so that might look backwards for you guys, but it's right for me. So we're going to set the velocity to -5. Now, if you press play, you'll see that our pumpkin is just going to move towards our Frankenstein. So Frankenstein's monster. I'm gonna be accurate here. If you guys ever actually read that story, Frankenstein is the guy who makes the monster, and the name of the monster is Frankenstein's monster. A little bit of trivia for you guys. All right, so if you press back here, let me just do this one more time, just so I can remember what we're doing. So our pumpkin's moving to the left. So what we want to do is pretty much exactly how the Chrome game works is when you run a character, when you run into an obstacle, you basically just game over. So HyperPad actually gives you like a game over screen already. So if you go to overlays, oh, that's kind of broken, but let's fix that. Okay, that's close enough. So we're just gonna see a game over screen, and if I press play here, it's just gonna be a game over. That's also kind of screwed up, but I think it's a bug. I gotta figure out that. It's gonna show up in the next update. I'll fix for me in the next update. But so what we're gonna do is when the pumpkin hits Frankenstein's monster, we're just gonna game over. So let's go into our pumpkin behaviors, and we add a let's go object, and we do let's add it on collide. So on collided, so we have three different behaviors for collisions. We have collided, where a collision, the first instant a collision occurs. While colliding is basically while you're like hitting something or inside of something, and stop colliding is when you stop that collision. So that's the instant where the collision, the two objects stop touching. We have when the two objects are touching, the instant where the two objects start touching, while the two objects are touching, and two objects are separated. Those are three events. But we're going to do, as soon as we start touching our Frankenstein's monster, I'm already backed in on this. But as soon as we hit our Frankenstein monster, we're going to do a game over. So if we go to scene, the scene behaviors, and this should show, I'm going to load an overlay. I'm going to load the overlay, and you want to load the game over overlay. And we just want to move it in from the top. So that's going to be our transition, and we're just going to game over. So if you press play, it's not going to work. And the reason why it's not going to work is both our Frankenstein's monster and the pumpkin are both they're both wall objects, and two wall objects won't generate a collision because wall objects are, so we have three physics modes. We have physics mode where objects can be affected by gravity and be affected by the force of other objects. Wall objects are almost, you can think of them as like infinitely heavy objects, but they do not generate collisions with other wall objects. And scenery objects that just have no they have no physics attached to them, so they can't generate collisions. They can't create physical interactions with other objects. But we want to make our pumpkin wall, but we want to make Frankenstein's monster to be a physics object. So now if you press play, you're going to see something strange happen. Our Frankenstein is just going to fall right through the ground. And the reason for that is there's no actual ground for our Frankenstein's monster to actually stand on. So what we're going to do is we're going to create the object, and we're going to make our empty object extend through the ground. We're just going to put it right on Frankenstein's monster's feet, and we're going to extend it all the way. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make it not passable, so that Frankenstein's monster is not going to fall right through it. So now if you press play, it's as if you have like a hard ground. I'm actually going to make this be green. Let's keep it transparent, just to not make our game look ugly. So so now when I press play, you'll see that Frankenstein's monster will fall through the ground, and now it says game over. So this game over screen is kind of screwed up on iPad Pro. I don't know why it is, but it's probably an easy fix that will show up in the next update, but that's okay. So we have our Frankenstein's monster. Whenever it runs into a pumpkin, it's going to game over. But let's the spirit of a one button challenge is you actually have to click a button, and our button needs to make our Frankenstein's monster jump to avoid the pumpkin. So HyperPad gives you the option of adding a behavior called jump with button that's just going to do everything for you. So it's going to add a button to screen, and it's going to make them jump. So I press play here. You can just jump right away. Oh. This game is already too hard. I gotta let's make this be a little bit lower. Okay. Let's edit the boundaries of this pumpkin. So if you actually click on this object, you can see that the Frankenstein's monster has a pretty big hitbox, and our pumpkin also has probably a big hitbox. No, it doesn't actually. You can check the hitbox by clicking this collision boundary and see like how big it is. But actually, it fits pretty well. Just I'm not good at this game. So let's just time this better. Okay, this game's hard. I don't know. We'll figure that part. Actually, let's do big. Let's just make the pumpkin smaller, and that might make it easier. So if you press play, okay, I'm gonna make our jump more powerful. So if you go to the behaviors of the jump with button, you can just increase the power of the jump. Let's make it 30. Press play, and whoop, that's pretty high, but at least we avoided it, and we didn't hit a game over or anything like that. So what happens when they jump? Actually, just when they land, it stops animating. So what we're gonna do, so falling animation, we're gonna go choose an animation for our monster. So view animations. Oh, delete frames. Just want to choose the first frame. View frame. So when you jump, it's just going to show the first frame or the following animation, and then just choose this frame. If you want to jump, so you go like that. Falls. Okay, when you lands, what we want to do is you want to then what does this behavior do? Triggers once on event. I'm just going to do like when you start touching. So when you collide with the floor, it's going to start animating. So what we're going to do is on collided with the floor, we're just going to start animating. So you jump, you're falling, and then now he's running again. Cool. So earlier I kind of alluded that you can do jump with button where it just does everything for you. I'm going to show you how to do it from scratch. So we're going to keep this button on the screen though, just because I don't want to add, let's delete the button. So that jump with button will add something to global UI, which global UI is basically any objects that just layer themselves right on top of everything else. So we're going to delete that guy. And what we're going to do is we're going to like add an invisible button to the entire size of the screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to add an empty object, and we're going to stretch that to be the entire size of the screen. I'm going to make this really big, so that way when you touch the whole screen, it's going to be clickable. So I'm going to go back to my main layer, and I'm going to go back to the Frankenstein's monster. I'm going to delete our jump button behavior. Let's get rid of you. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the interaction behavior, and we're going to do on started touching. On start touching, what we're going to do is we're going to, so on starting, so we're going to select the global UI, and then we're going to choose the big button. So when you start touching that big button, we're going to use the physics, and we're going to just see what physics behaviors we have. We have apply force, or we have propel object. I'm going to use apply force. So we're going to apply a force to our monster in the Y direction, and we're going to do, I don't know, let's do 90 newtons. See what that does. When I press play and I tap the screen, that's like not really anything. But if you notice, there's some weird behaviors there. So if I press restart, I can keep tapping the screen. I can keep tapping. So what we want to do is when we collide. So right now you can start touching. What we're going to do is when you collide with the floor. So we're going to do when you collide with this floor right here, this behavior here. We're going to do. We're just going to turn off the start touching behavior. So behavior off. Started touching. And then started touching. So now we're basically disabling the button. So if we're not touching the floor anymore, so if we've already jumped, we're going to disable the start touching behavior. And when we stop, sorry, I have this backwards. We want to do, if we stop colliding, on stop colliding with the floor, when we stop colliding with this floor, oops, that's going to be on the main layer. When we stop colliding with the floor, we're going to turn off start touching. And when we start colliding with the floor, you want to turn on start touching. Started touching. So now, when you press play, we can only jump when we land, pretty much, right? But now our guy is pretty weak, so let's quit and just add more force and just make this be. With these, you can either do the math and figure out like how hard it's going to be. I like to just play with this multiplier here. Let's make it times 10. So it's 90 times 10 newtons. So 900 newtons. And that's too much. Let's do 3 times. That's pretty reasonable. Let's just do times 6. Feels good to me. So let's make it 6. That's a little too high too. Let's make it 5. So 5 times 9 newtons, and if you wanted to do the math, you could figure it out by the mass of our monster. And then if you click on this button at the top beside the play button, the little globe icon, and you check out the gravity, you can see how much gravity is pulling down our monster. So that's gonna be, so I'm not gonna do the math because I'm not smart enough to do that right now. So it's just gonna be 90 newtons times 5, and if you press play, we're going to time that. That looks pretty reasonable. So now it's kind of boring though, because we only have one pumpkin, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to add we're going to spawn, we're just going to spawn some pumpkins. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a little box here, just an empty object, and we're going to use this to spawn our pumpkins randomly, right? So what we're going to make use of is we're going to use a behavior bundle just to organize our logic. We're going to use a random number, so like this is going to represent our time. So we're going to do random number, let's call it from 0 seconds and call it to every 5 seconds. So between 0 and 5 seconds, we're going to be generating a new pumpkin. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to use a spawn behavior, spawn on object, spawn on area, so spawn on object. I'm going to just spawn on top of the we're going to spawn this pumpkin on top of this box. So we're going to choose a pumpkin here. The box is pre-selected because that's the current object we're on. So we're going to allow 30 pumpkins to be alive, and we're not going to allow any randomness. It's going to spawn right from the center. And we're going to press this recycle button, which basically means actually, I'm going to turn this off, and that'll be a good explanation for something else. So we're going to spawn on object, and then you'll notice we haven't used the random number yet. So what we're going to use is the wait behavior. Wait. You could also use a timer, but it's harder to make a random timer. So we're just going to use a wait behavior, and instead of waiting 1 second, we're going to pass in a random number into the time, and then when the wait behavior is done, we're just gonna, so after we're waiting a random number of seconds, we're just gonna wait. Once we're done waiting, just generate a random number again. So the reason why I put this in a behavior bundle is if this behavior bundle wasn't here, so let's just delete this behavior bundle, this behavior logic, like these 3 behaviors that are looping themselves, would never get initialized because it doesn't have a parent. Like there's no actual parent behavior. It may look like the random number is the parent because it's on top of everything, but that's not how it works. It's just that there's no initializing parent to trigger the random number behavior. So we're just going to use this behavior bundle to have a starting point, essentially. So let's see what it does. When I press play, you're going to see some, oh shoot, I forgot to play. Let's just jump. You have our pumpkins, and it's just randomly being generated. You'll see that the spaces are kind of, they're varied pretty much. So yeah, it's just kind of random. And if you wanted to add some sort of leveling system to our game, if you want to add some leveling system to the game, you could play around with this random number. So like initially you'd make it so that you don't start every 0 seconds, but it's like between 3 and 5 seconds. You just make the initial start time of your random number be smaller and smaller, and the end time is shorter and shorter. So to make the intervals shorter, you can. So if you jump over like 10 pumpkins, for example, you would increase your level. But let's just do 0 seconds because I don't want to think about that right now. So, all right. So right now, because our spawn on object behavior only ever generates 30 objects, our pumpkins are never being cleaned up, right? So what we can do is what can we do here? So we're going to change this to be a physics object. Physics with 0 friction. And let me just see what that does before I explain what this does. Yeah, that works. Okay, cool. So basically why I set that to 0 friction is because we're still using on our pumpkin, we're using the set velocity behavior, but the velocity isn't constantly being set. So there's going to be friction on the floor that's going to slow it down. So if we set the friction to 0, it's basically saying set the velocity to -5, and it's just always going to kind of slide forever. So it's like it basically, as soon as the game starts, or as soon as this object gets spawned, um, it's going to um, just basically do like a push, like think of curling almost, push on ice, and the ice has no friction, so it's never going to slow down our pumpkin. So so now what I can do is make use of like a collision, and as soon as it collides, so if we add another empty object here, and now we can do, when we collide with this empty object, we're just gonna go ahead and destroy our pumpkin. So what we're gonna do is on collide, I'm gonna duplicate this collide, so I don't have to look for a new one. So when you collide with this, call it like a cleanup or something, we're just gonna destroy our pumpkin. So now our, if we press destroy object, let's destroy our pumpkin. Or we can make use of, if you don't want to do that, like if you don't want to change our physics and all that stuff, what we could have done is make use of the recycle option inside of spawn an object. And what that does basically is, as soon as we get to 31 alive objects, it's going to automatically delete the first one. It's going to start deleting the ones that got spawned initially. So it's just going to kind of recycle the existing objects. And the reason why you'd actually want to do this is because this actually makes your game faster if you use the recycle option. Because behind the scenes, what we do is we actually generate like a ton of pumpkins. We actually pre-generate all 30 pumpkins. And in programming or in game programming, whatever it is, the slowest parts of a program is when you create something new and you destroy something from memory. And this recycle option makes it so things aren't ever being created and destroyed constantly. It's going to use the same ones as before. It's going to clean everything up so that it behaves like a fresh new object, but it doesn't do the destroying, and it doesn't do the destroying logic behind the scenes. So it actually makes your game a lot faster. So if you ever find yourself spawning like a ton of objects on your screen, like you have like a Geometry Wars type game, you would want to do like if you ever have like a Geometry Wars type game, you would want to use this recycle because you're gonna have a ton of stuff on screen, and you kind of want it to clean up after itself rather than having to manually like destroy stuff. So so now our game's pretty much done. It's just a little pumpkin game. Oh, reason why this isn't working anymore is because our pumpkins are being generated and probably falling off this cliff. So what we're gonna do is just generate them right here and see if that works. Yeah, there we go. Oh, switchy stick. look at that. So I'm noticing on the actual stream, this is super, super laggy. And on my side, it's actually 60 frames per second. It's actually, everything's very smooth. Um, so, yeah, that's a one click. That's an example of a one click game. You can take this in a bunch of different directions. You can make it so that whenever you jump over an object, you score a point. Or you can have like a high score system. We have a bunch of tutorials on that. If you can find those tutorials on documentation.hyperpad.com. You can check out our you can check out a bunch of different resources, our YouTube tutorials. We have a bunch of those out there. And hit up our forum and our Discord. And yeah, our Discord has a lot of like live help. So if you ever get stuck with anything, people are usually ready to jump on helping with something. And then yeah, and then if you have any ideas on games you'd like to see me make, just on a whim, just hit us up on our YouTube comments or send us a message on our forum or tweet at us, whatever you want to do. I think we're at HyperPad app. I hope that's what we are. I don't know. I don't know any of our socials. But there's links at the bottom of these videos. So yeah, I think so. We do these streams every couple of weeks, and a couple of weeks from now, we're going to be doing. Somebody requested us building a rogue game, and I'm assuming like a game where you're kind of going in a bunch of different directions and kind of stealing from other characters, and that's going to be a couple of weeks from now. Don't forget to submit your projects to the hub for the Hyperween. Again, you can win an iPhone, a pair of AirPods, and there's a prize for a $50 gift card. And you have until October 31st. So if you need any help, just hit us up on our Discord or forum. Again, we're always ready for you guys. Anyways, that's it from me today. Hopefully the audio and stuff are good. If not, oh well. What can you do? All right, see you guys later.